Our guys are, excuse me, our guys are excited about our first Pac-12 game, and playing on the road at Oregon. And Ogden Stadium is a great place to open up and play. And, they've been one of the perennial powers in our league. And, Mark Helfrich's done a great job, and they've had a lot of great players there, and they still do. They still got plenty of speed, and they're a very good football team. So it's going to be an extremely tough contest for us, but it's always fun, starting your Pac-12 games. So I'll take any questions.
Mike, on your depth chart, you have Steven listed as the starter. Have you made a determination yet what you're going to do at quarterback?
Cepho was at practice today in full pads, moving around better than he did yesterday. We'll make a decision game time on that. But Steven is getting a few more first-team reps for sure right now as Cepho keeps working on getting well. But he was moving around in full pads and looked better than he did yesterday. So we'll just see how that progresses.
As a follow-up to that, Steven obviously got a lot of the first-team reps during the spring.
Yeah.
How much are you seeing that helping him now that he's taking some of those reps this week?
Well, he had a good fall, too. He had most of the reps in the spring practice and did a good job there. And in fall camp, he did good. And then, he's played in all 3 games so far. So I think his feet are wet, so to speak. It's not going to be like he's jumping out there for the very first time. And I definitely think Steven is capable of making plays and moving our offense and has a good arm and can run. And I think he'll do well when he gets in if he has a chance to get in there.
Mike, Steven obviously stepped into a tough situation, second half, close game on the road against a top 5 team in the big house. Wasn't necessarily all his fault, but he probably didn't perform as well as he would have liked. Have you had to sit down and talk with him and either play psychologist with him or help him along with that, or how's he doing?
No, I talked to him a little bit about it. When you go in, we had the momentum, Cepho goes down, and then, we kick off to them. They had a pretty good return, and then our kicker blows his Achilles. It's like bang, 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 and our whole team, and you're trying to just get them all corralled. And so I think that had a little bit to do with it emotionally for our football team. And then, they're really good on the D-line, and they keep subbing them in, and they keep subbing them in. And so that wore us down a little bit there. We had a chance there on that 4th down to make a play, I thought, and move on down in there and get another score. But we didn't. So that third quarter, end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, we didn't play as well as we would like. And, Michigan had a little bit to do with that on some of the things they were doing. But I thought that, it is hard to get thrown in there in that situation at that time. But I think Steven has a lot of moxie to him. He has some confidence. I think that he'll bounce back from that.
Coach, kind of a 2-part question in regards to the punt team.
Uh-huh.
I guess first of all, given the number of block kicks really going back to the beginning of last year, what do you feel like is the advantage of the scheme you have with the wide gaps up front and the rugby style in back?
Mm-hmm.
And then, also with the special teams coaches by committee, if you were to make any tweaks to that, is there any one coach that oversees that unit, or do you look at each unit as a committee?
No, we look at each unit as a committee. We had no problems in the first 2 games at all. We had a mistake on the first punt that caused it, and then the next one we just kind of fumbled it up a little bit, messed it up a little bit. But we'll keep a lot of teams. If you watch us, do the exact same scheme, and Utah as punter has made the. So what's the name of the Ray Guy Award winner the last 2 years? That's all they do. That's all they do is rugby punt. So, and he's won the Ray Guy Award. So it's just all executing it. I wouldn't like to rugby punt as much as we did in the game, though. I would not. And so we've corrected that and worked on it, and I think that we'll be much improved on the rest of the way out on it, and we definitely need to be.
2-part question about your defensive line. You talked about some things went the way in the second half where a lot of things happened to you guys in a row. But overall, especially in the first half, the way that they were getting pushed, and we've seen that a lot all year. What's just your impression of of the strides the defensive front has made, and then against Oregon, how key is that unit with the way they play?
Yeah, our defensive front's doing well. Our backups in there are doing well at it. I like how they're doing. You know, some of the runs that Michigan made on us were outside, so I'm definitely for sure 100% that Oregon's going to attack us outside more. So we've got to shore that up. But I feel like they played well. They're going to have to play really well against Oregon. They always have to play well for us to have a chance to be successful. I definitely think they're good enough to control a game, which they've done it a few times. And in parts of the Michigan game, they controlled the game. So I definitely think they're good enough to do that, and that's what I expect out of them.
Mike, to follow up on Pat's question a little bit, and I know you're not the only team to run those wide splits and punt returns, but what's the philosophy in, I guess it's called the shield formation or something like that? What's the philosophy in doing that as opposed to more conventional type?
Well, the philosophy is you can get your guys out front quicker, get them down there faster. And then, you know, you have the shield back there to protect on it. So that's, you know, what we've done. Most of the teams we play, I do it too. So, but we didn't execute it well enough a couple times for sure. And so we had to shore that up, and I definitely believe we have. And we would like to kick a little more conventional with it more often than rugby in it as much.
You alluded to your offensive line kind of getting worn down because Michigan was throwing new subs in there.
Mm-hmm.
But can you kind of evaluate how they played? It looked like they had a really strong first quarter, and then the second quarter they kind of slipped up. It seems like you guys responded at a halftime.
Yeah, we responded well. When we got behind, they kind of knew we were going to have to throw a little bit, so then they could just lay their ears back. If we could have stayed more balanced, I don't think we would have had it. You know, one of the ones was a third down and real long. We were trying to throw the ball downfield, and they sacked us. You know, I think that if we could have stayed more balanced and throughout the game like we were doing, we would have been more productive on the offensive line. Once they kind of realized we were going to have to throw it time after time, they could kind of lay their ears back, run different blitzes, run different stunts, kind of be a little more exotic. So that was what happened there. But I thought our offensive line did well for most of the part against, you know, and I would say an excellent defensive line.
Mike, given the importance of Cepho and the injury history he's had the last couple of years, when he does get back, do you guys need to reevaluate how much you're running him and try to keep him in the pocket more and protect him a little bit more?
Yeah, we can. You know, some of them are scrambles that we do. You know, one of the effectiveness of him also is of our offense is being able to run the quarterback some when they spread all over the field with your guys. You have those big gaps. If you don't take advantage of that, then your quick game doesn't make big plays either. So it's kind of you kind of got to do it some. But, yeah, we definitely would like to protect him a little bit more at times. You know, it was kind of crazy on the one he got hurt on. He made a read, he ran, and the guy just kind of tackled him from behind. It was a normal, and his foot got kind of caught in the turf. I think on grass it might not have happened. You know, hopefully he can stay healthy.
Talk about the progress of Aaron Hagler. He started for you last week, and it looks like you've got him on top in the depth chart again this week.
Yeah, Aaron played well last week. You know, Sam had hurt his ankle. Sam played some, and Sam's ankle's getting well. And Aaron did well. So you'll definitely see Aaron out there, and we'll see Sam some also. And so it's good. It was good to see Aaron, and I thought he did well in his first start.
Oregon has a graduate transfer quarterback. They've had a couple of those here in the last couple of years. I'm curious what you think of that rule. You see it a lot in basketball, obviously. In football, it tends to be quarterbacks. You know, there's some talk that people think it should have to be sit a year so you actually accomplish getting a graduate degree. What's just your thought on the graduate transfer rule?
There's a bunch of conflicting thoughts on it. You know, when a kid graduates, I guess he can go do what he wants to do. You'd like him to stay at your school unless he's not going to start probably, then he has an opportunity to start and go somewhere else and play. That sometimes makes sense in some situations. But you know, it's kind of you've both fulfilled your end of the bargain. You help the young man graduate. He's been able to do it. Now he can go get a graduate degree if he wants to somewhere else, or he can stay at your school and get a graduate degree. You know, we have a lot of fifth-year seniors that stay here and get it. And so it's kind of I don't know. If you're on one side of it, you don't like it. If you're on the other side, you like it. And then you kind of look at it and go, wow, what does that rule really mean? The 2-year deal, I've heard that talked about. Some of the kids would stay for the 2 years and get their masters. Some of the kids are going to leave and go to the NFL. And so then do you have an APR hit on your school then, and all those type of things? So it's kind of and he's already graduated. So what does APR mean to me? APR is for graduation. He's already graduated. So there's one side of it says, yeah, you should take APR, or one of them saying you should make sure they finish and go through. It's there's a lot of different philosophies out there. To me, it's really case to case. I mean, if you're a young man and there's a guy in front of you that's an All-American and you haven't played much and you're good and you want to play, you've been everything, you've stayed at the school for 4 years, you've graduated, and you can go somewhere else and you got a chance to start and play your last year you'll ever play football. If you're that kid's parent, you probably say that's a good idea. If you're a kid that's playing all the time and starting on your team and the school's done everything for you and you got another year to play and you just decide to leave because you want to do something better, I don't think that's what college is about. So to me, that's why it's kind of a hot button on both sides of it.
Hey, Mike, obviously the changes you've made on offense this year have really looked like they've been pretty good. 11 touchdown drives, I think, have lasted 2 minutes or less for you guys this year. Do you feel going into a game against a team like Oregon that this team is the best equipped team sort of to fight fire with fire?
Well, they practice against each other the same way, high speed, all that type of thing. So, they have their signals down, they have their communication down. There probably won't be as many busts as you see sometimes with teams that don't do that, especially defensively. And then, offensively, they're able to play at a fast pace and get the ball snapped and get lined up quick. I would think both of our teams defensively won't really have a problem with the speed of the game. Now it's just going to be who executes the best.
You talked to your son earlier. I don't know if you're in the room yet or not. Sounds like there are some interesting dinner conversations at the MacIntyre household when he comes home for dinner. It also sounds like mom and sis get involved in the football talk. You want to elaborate on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, mom and sis were both athletes, and they've been around football for a long time around their lives. So they get involved in it for sure at times. There's no doubt. My daughter's kind of like the young girl from now she's older now, but she's always been like that. The girl from the Titans, the movie The Titans. That's what she's like. So she'll probably be embarrassed me saying that, but that she knows it's true.
You always hear that term battle tested. Does that matter? Does playing at Michigan make a difference for your team as you go into conference play?
That's a good question. Well, you always have to be mentally ready for each game. You can't overlook any one of them. But, you go into that type of environment and all the pomp and circumstance that was there with, you do the national anthem and Tom Brady's out there and they take forever. It's kind of like an NFL game that we run out and then we stood there. And so we talked before that. You're going to stand. You're going to do a couple things. Now get warmed back up again and stay focused. So that's a little bit of an advantage for them when you do it. But it did not bother us. We started really fast. So I think that them understanding the atmosphere, they've played in a lot of great places, that I think that they'll be ready. Most all these kids have been to Ogden, Oregon before. Eugene, Oregon. I'm sorry, Eugene, Oregon, before and played there at Ogden Stadium.
You alluded to the fact that your defense had trouble at the edges, and their tight end, he looks like he might play on Sundays one day.
Yeah,
very,
he will.
Very good player. Can you evaluate your linebacking core and maybe the health of Addison and the usage of him and Rick?
Yeah. First of all, our edge setter, Derek McCartney, went out, so that hurt us a little bit there. And then they hurt us on a couple of toss sweeps. What they did, they did some good blocking, of course, and some good running. Then Addison didn't play as much as we would like. He'll play more this week in the game, so that'll be good for us on that side of it. I thought Rick did some good things. I thought Kenneth Okabodi did some good things. But in this game especially, they'll be, when you go a fast pace and what they're doing, you're going to need to substitute some. and so we will do that.
Going back to Jay, how do you evaluate him as a quarterback?
Who Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a nice throw on the reverse pass, and he's he's thrown a lot growing up. So I thought we know he'd make that throw. We practiced it a lot. I thought he threw it okay. I wish the corner wouldn't have fallen off. The corner should have stayed on the post. I think Cepha would have run for a touchdown, but that's the way it worked out.
Coach, Oregon has gone for 2-point conversions 11 times, only kicked extra points 7 times. How do you welcome that, or would you prefer that they kick, and how do you prepare for that?
Well, we prepare every week for what we call muddle huddles, lining up correctly. Now, they have multiple muddle huddles, so we have to spend time on that. And that's one of the reasons that Oregon does that, is so you'll spend time working on that. As a defense, you have to work on that. So you got to spend time in practice every day working on that, which takes away from working on things with their offense. So they're very dynamic at it. Charles Nelson, number 6, is the guy that's their 2-point holder guy. Then they bring in another number 12, I believe, was one of the backup quarterbacks. He also comes in and holds, but mainly number 6. He can, he's fast, he's quick. He's made a lot of plays on that, but they got a lot of different formations that they do. So, yeah, we need to line up correctly and stop it. It looks like sometimes they're not worried about what you're going to line up in. They're going to run it anyway, and then sometimes they look to see what you're in. If you're lined up properly, if you're not lined up properly, they run it and score easily. So we've got to be prepared for that. They do a good job at it.